It's the Daily Dog.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with us today. So today I'm doing a reaction, but I'm doing a reaction to one of my own pieces, and I hope that you'll find it interesting. I was reminded today is March 4th, that it was 10 years ago today that a piece of mine that's one of my favorites that I've ever written was given its world premiere. The piece is called In Tempore, that is Latin for in due season. The work is a cycle on the seasons. It's for choir and piano, and it's in 6 short movements. There's a prologue, and then there is a short movement on spring, and then summer, and then autumn, and then winter, and then we have an epilogue at the end. This piece was commissioned by the Antioch Chamber Ensemble and premiered by them. So the singers that you will hear in the recording are from the Antioch Chamber Ensemble. They are great friends. Several of the folks in this group are Grammy winners. A lot of them, if they're not winners, are nominees, and they sing around the country and the world in some of the most professional and best choral music ensembles. And I was totally enthralled to write a piece for them, and it was a great experience. They have 14 singers in their group, 12 to 14. And for this performance, they were going to have 14. And what they asked me for was a piece written at a professional level that they could dive into. So this is going to be a little bit tricky in terms of harmony and vocal writing. They wanted it with piano, so it does have piano in most of the movements. And they wanted, at least in part, to have a piece that was written for every single voice in the choir as an individual part. So at one part, in the winter movement, it splits into 14 different parts, which was kind of fun to put together. So let's take a look at this. We are going to start with the prologue. And, you know, if I was going through this and sort of giving it the lecture treatment, that would go on for an hour. But I'm going to try to keep it shorter than that for sure. So let's listen back, and this is going to be the prologue. Let's see how it goes. Lovely. So that's the prologue. We start with from death to life and back again. You'll notice I was very much into these sort of wedge patterns or symmetrical patterns, where if one part goes one way, another part goes the other, and they kind of mirror themselves. So you'll look, the soprano is going up like that while the bass is going down, and they kind of rejoin. We do the same thing towards the end of this particular movement, we end up getting back to that E flat. Now you might notice there's a lot of chromaticism in this. It's the way that I'm writing this. I'm writing in different key areas, but I'm kind of bouncing around from key to key. So I'm not using a key signature. So it's just no sharps and flats. If I need a note that's a black note on the piano, I just write it that way. So don't think that it's in C major or A minor just because there's no key signature. This opening was in E flat, specifically because I wanted to give a very different sound once we get to the spring movement. And I'm going to show you this. Spring starts, that actually is in A minor. So again, if you hearken back to the video that I did on the myth of happy songs being in major keys and sad songs being in minor keys, for me, spring is all about bursting forth and movement and jovialness and new life, and I set that in A minor. So and again, you'll see that there's some departures, and especially in the outside voices. So let's take a look at the spring movement. Here we go. Maybe. There they go. Great pianist. She was going a little faster than I anticipated. So this lengthens, the flow of life now urges forth. Gives you a syncopated sort of rhythm. Sort of D Lydian, you get those G sharps over those Ds. And that's my idea for that new life springing forth. When they're all together and everybody's alive. You also notice it's a live recording because there's extra noise in the background sometimes. This is a compositional tactic to sort of stretch the ideas as we get closer to the end of this movement. And it ends on an A major chord with, in the piano, some added that added D sharp that makes it sound like A Lydian as well. So I'm borrowing that idea. I want you to look at a couple things here. Let's go back to this page. As springtime cradles, our poet, Pam Wynn, who's a good friend of mine, gives us these this recurring theme throughout each movement of one season cradling the next. It's a really neat turn of phrase, and so I really like that. But as you notice up here, take a look at the soprano line and the bass line. They're going in opposite directions, so they're mirroring each other, doing some symmetrical patterns. I was really into symmetry when I was writing this. The same thing happens down here, right, where they start on these 6 and they end up back on those A's. Same thing happens over here. They're kind of going in different direction. As one goes down, one goes out, like that, and they're just kind of doing that. The same thing is happening in the altos and the tenors. They're doing, like if you look up through here, the tenor starts on the D, they go up to the E and back, and then they start on the E and go down and go back. Now, for the whole measure, it's D's and E's right next to each other, but I give the voices a chance to move a little bit, which makes, instead of it being just static lines that they're trying to maintain, giving the singers a musical line helps to keep that in tune, even though they're swapping off pitches. Cool, so that was spring, and now we're ready for summer. Summer's gonna be more expansive, built on a lot of layered fifths. So let's see what that sounds like. Kind of messed up that entrance. It's a live recording, live performance. So that emerging came from a half step and it sort of lifts everything up. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole piece. I want to go back and show you this. So, ethereal as secret dreams. You'll notice the soprano part is written starting on a G sharp, and they go up, and the alto part starts on an A flat, which is inharmonically the same pitch, but it works easier for the altos to sing their line as if they were in A flat. And it's easier for the sopranos to sing their line as if they're in sharps. And that line is exactly symmetrical, right? And then I do the same thing for the guys when they get to their passage. Let's back up just a hair. So we're in here. Symmetrically the inverse of that to the low mi bottom. Some space there, so you just write an empty bar in tempo. so cool. At least it is to me. We cadence there on a D major chord, but the outsides are still based in that sort of B flat fifth. So we get that resolution in the choir, but the piano doesn't quite resolve with us because we're in the middle of the journey, and it's setting up some tension that's going to happen in autumn, which is going to happen next. Here we go. Not easy. This is deceptively really difficult. For people that say you can't write in parallel fifths, that's fine. So this starts the second part of this particular movement as we're doing the trudge down to winter. And we're doing the trudge through the second half of autumn. Some text painting is fun in this. When we get to the word splinter, lengthen it to 3/8 notes instead of 2 in the trudge. Kind of puts us to sleep a little bit. A lullaby. Great alto line, I think. Now 4/8 notes. The trudge gets slower. And we have this little canon. Now we go to dotted half notes. It's slowly getting slower. Now the whole notes. For the whole ensemble there. I don't write sopranos on a low G very often, but it was just a way to signify that final trudge where everybody's down on that G, and it sets up the next movement. Now, the next movement is Winter. This is a very strange movement. So this is where we have all 12 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 12 voice parts, not 14. Apologies. They had 4 sopranos, 2 altos, 2 tenors, and 4 bass baritones. And they sing in a semicircle, and it's the highest voice around to the lowest voice. And so the way that I did this is so that it would be not only interesting for the performance, but visually as well. You'll hear different sounds coming from different parts of the choir. And the interesting thing to me about this movement, it's the only time I've ever tried this, is that the entire movement is completely symmetrical around middle C. So if you look at the top of this, I've got a C in the middle of that chord. It's a little crunchy chord. It's 3 half steps right in a row. So you get the C, you get the B right below it, and you get the D flat right above it, right? And then we get to this next little part. That's a high E flat. right? Way up there above that C. That is 2 octaves and a minor sixth, away from that. And, or sorry, a minor third. 2 octaves and a minor third above the middle C, and then so is that low A, right? They're the same distance away from the middle C. And if you notice the vocal parts here, we keep coming back to the C and where everybody moves. So if I've got a D flat, I need a B natural. If I've got an F up there, a fourth above middle C, I need a G below it to interact. Sometimes they do it all together at the same time, and sometimes it's one phrase that then gets redone, flipped over that axis of that middle C. It was just an interesting way to see if I could come up with the puzzle that worked. And this is what we got. So let's check it out. They're getting ready. Dive in. There they go. Looks like it's doing the symmetrical thing, so it looks like it sounds as well, right? In terms of those shapes. And it's designed to be harsh. We needed Winter to be harsh with some half steps and some crunchy chords in contrast to Summer, which was really open and expansive. So here the lower 3 stanzas start in A flat major. The gals answer in A minor. Back to A flat major. Answer in A minor. Cluster chord that gradually goes away, and we're left with the single C left. So now we start to get where we get to the end of Winter and it starts to reawaken things. Everybody starts on the same note at different times, each in their own time. movement of a half step, a little bit of growth. Then we get movement of a whole step, and that's the growth into the next part. And that's one of my favorite chords or favorite phrases that I've ever written, because it has some musical stuff that came together just right, and some text painting stuff that came together just right. So I want you to look at this with me. We're still completely symmetrical around middle C. So you'll see like right in the middle here, right? So we've got a D in the alto above middle C, and that's a step above, so that's mirrored with the B flat and the tenors below it. We've got this F in the alto, first alto, that's mirrored with the G below middle C, a fourth each direction, right? Then we've got a G up there, so we've got an F down here in the baritone. We've got an A natural up there, so we've got an E flat down here. So that's where we start getting fun. A major sixth above C is an A natural. A major sixth below C is an E flat. And that gives me, oh, it's going to be an E flat extended chord, right? So then we get from that A up here to a D, that is a ninth above that C. So what's a ninth below it? This B flat down here. And then this high A way up here gives us this low E flat all the way down here. So we're completely symmetrical around middle C. We have 12 different parts, all singing that mathematically lines up, and it ends up being this really neat E flat, like sharp 11 chord that sets us up for where we started all the way back in the prologue. And we get now to have the epilogue, and we're going to start again in E flat. So it was really a cool thing for me to be able to figure that out and work that through. So let's do the ending of the piece. This will start kind of like the beginning, and then we'll add piano and go to the big finish. Hang with me, we're almost there. Here we go. Most of this is just like the prologue. The first phrase was different. Most of this is the same this far. But then it goes off in the closing direction. There's that hopeful fifth, open fifth in the top. Excellent job. That was the Antioch Chamber Ensemble. Give them applause. Okay. Thank you very much. So, my friends, the Antioch Chamber Ensemble, giving that performance. That was a live performance from the 2011 Piccolo Spoleto Festival in Charleston, South Carolina. I was pleased to be there, but it was 10 years ago today, March 4th, 2011, that the premiere of the piece was given by this same group here in New Jersey. You'll notice that on the last page of the score, it said I was in West Windsor in November. My thing is covering it up. How is that happening? November of 2009. So I worked on this on the fall of 2009, and it didn't get into their rotation until the 2010-11 season. And then this live recording was captured in May of 2011. So I hope that was interesting to you folks. I really enjoy going back and looking at some of my own pieces. This one I think stands up. This is one of the first big pieces that I wrote after I got my doctoral degree. It's still one of my favorite like mid-major pieces that I've done. It is quite difficult, which is why not too many folks or groups have done it. But if you're interested, it's available through my website. If you're interested in getting the score, drop me a line and be happy to work with you on it. But this has been In Tempore, In Due Season. The text is by Pam Wynn, a poet living in the state of Kansas, and the music was written in 2009. So thanks very much for being with us today, and we'll see you next time on The Daily Doug.